Yes, Maulana.
All right, perfect. Alhamdulillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم وجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I make dua that everyone is well today. Just a reminder, if you want to say anything, you may unmute yourselves. Um, and also, if you don't want to unmute yourself and speak, then you can send a message in the chat group and inshallah I'll follow from there. Or alternatively, you can just put your hand up and then I'll acknowledge you, inshallah. Right. So we were busy with Man Kasara al Asnam, and last week we looked at chapter number 5. We did chapter 5 in our groups, specifically the first 3 lines of chapter 5, if I wasn't correct, first 3 or 5 lines of chapter 5, we did that in our groups homework. And then the homework assigned was to do the rest of chapter 5. Is that correct? Was it the rest of chapter 5 or page number 10? I forget now. I don't know what I just did.
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. I think it was just the rest of page 10. I hope it was
Okay.
just the rest of page 10.
All right. Okay. So then let's complete that one, inshallah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read page number 10, inshallah. We'll go through the meanings of that. Everybody can check that. If you have any questions, you ask, and then we'll break away into our groups to do the rest of chapter 5 bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Right. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Where were we? قال بل فعله كبيرهم هذا فاسألوهم إن كانوا ينطقون. He said, rather, this big one of them did it. فاسألوهم, so ask them إن كانوا ينطقون, if they were able to speak or if they could speak. line number 8. وكان الناس يعرفون أن الأصنام حجارة. And the people knew that the idols were stone. Well, the people used to know that the idols were stone. وكانوا يعرفون أن الحجارة لا تسمع ولا تنطق. And they knew that the stones could not hear, nor could they speak. وكانوا يعرفون أن الصنم الأكبر أيضا حجر. Okay, Irshad, hand up, Bismillah.
All right, Maulana. Maulana, I had a question. What does the word anna mean?
Anna means that.
That. Okay, so it's just a direct translation of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Salah.
Sure. وكانوا يعرفون أن الصنم الأكبر أيضا حجر. And they knew يقدر أن يمشي ويتحرك. Emma, can you guys hear me?
Mulana, you broke up at the beginning of line 10.
Okay. Okay. If I do break up at any point, just let me know. Okay. You see, I think there might be other people in the house using the Wi-Fi. Let me just connect to another different connection quick. How's that? Am I still? Am I moving fine? Can you guys hear me fine?
Yes, Mulana. Just a
Yes,
question,
Maulana.
Mulana. I see you translating rifuna as they knew and not they in the present, not the present tense.
Correct. Okay. You tell me why. Why you think?
Context, Maulana. The context is
Okay.
in the past.
Okay. It's not just because of the context, right? You see, you are correct. The context does play a role, yes. But what
But the
shows
Kanu,
me because of the kanu? There we go. That's it. You see, what does kana mean? Kana means was, past tense, right?
Yes.
Now, when I have a past tense verb at the beginning of a sentence, and then subsequent present tense verbs, then all of those present tense verbs, I understand them all in the past tense because the entire sentence was already put into the past tense. But not just simply a normal past tense, but a past continuous tense. So, for example, if I say fa'ala means what? Fa'ala means that's bread and butter. Everybody must know that. Fa'ala, he did.
he
Right.
did.
And yaf'alu,
He's doing.
he is doing, right. But now, what if I say kana yaf'alu? You see, if I just translate each of them separately, it's going to be he was, he is doing. They don't gel. It's not. They're actually like distinct words over there. But that's not what's being implied. If I translate it as, if I say kana yaf'alu, then the kana to a degree overpowers the present tense nature of the yaf'alu. Right?
Mulana,
But
can then you
what
not
it
say he used to do?
exactly. That is exactly what I was going to get to. So usually we translate it as used to. So he used to do. Kana yaf'alu will not mean he is and he is doing. But when I put them together, it will mean he used to do. Used to. Now, used to. The reason why we use used to in English is just because it shows the continuity of the action. Right? Um, Another way of saying it is they were knowing. But obviously that sounds a bit clumsy. So that's why we don't translate it like that. The point is that we want to convey that it's in the past, but it wasn't a once-off thing in the past. Rather, it was a continuous action in the past. It's not as if they just knew for a moment, but they perpetually knew in the past. I hope that makes sense. So that's not translating it as they knew, just because it sounds a bit better than they used to know. وَكَانُوا يَعْرِفُونَ, and they used to know أن الصنم الأكبر أيضا حجر. I think new in this context conveys that continuous nature of knowing, but it also just sounds like a better translation. You agree or disagree, or am I making it too complicated? Anybody
No,
need more clarity?
quite true, Mulana. That makes sense.
Okay. If anybody needs more clarity on that or anything like that, just give me a shout, please. Right. I'm going to I'm going back to line number 11. وأن الصنم الأكبر لا يقدر أن يمشي ويتحرك. وأن الصنم الأكبر, and that the biggest idol, لا يقدر, it was not able أن يمشي, to يمشي, walk, ويتحرك, and to move. It was not able to walk nor move. Any questions there?
Mulana, sorry. What does Aiden mean? Aiden Hajar. Aiden.
أيضا. أيضا means also.
Okay.
Also. Right. Also. Yeah, again, we have the verb here. I don't know if you can see. Sorry. We have this word here, لا يقدر. It's also present tense. All right? It's also present tense. But why am I translating this one again as past tense? That the biggest idol was not able to. Because I'm translating it as past tense because you can see at the beginning of the sentence, there's a wa. That and shows me that it's, yeah, that shows me that it's carrying on from the previous sentence. وكانوا يعرفون أن الصنم الأكبر أيضا حجر وأن الصنم الأكبر لا يقدر أن يمشي ويتحرك. These full stops at the end of the sentences here, they should actually come away. They should actually be removed. If you want to, just for correctness sake in your book, you can change it. You can change it to comma. Arabic comma is like upside down comma. Something like that. It's a bit weird, but that's how it looks. Actually, as I told you before, in classical Arabic, we don't have these punctuation marks at all, actually. Right, so back to where we were. وأن الصنم الأكبر لا يقدر أن يمشي ويتحرك. And that the biggest idol was not able or used to not be able to walk nor move. وأن الصنم الأكبر, and that the biggest idol لا يقدر أن يكسر الأصنام, was not able and to break the idols. أن يكسر الأصنام, to break the idols. You can see that's plural. Nabila Zainab, Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Malina. I wanted to know what the word an does be before the verb. So like
Okay.
yaksidu.
Okay, good, very good question. The verb is supposed to be, where can I write it now? The verb is supposed to be kasara, right? Kasara, and in the present tense supposed to be
Yaksidu.
yaksiru. But what do we have over here?
Yaksira.
Yaksira. So the first thing that the an does is, in terms of form, remember whenever we're working with verbs, there's like this combination between form and meaning. So here what it does, in terms of form, it changes the ending to fatha, or in other words, it puts the verb into nasb. You can take a note of that if you want to. When you have an before a present tense verb, it puts the verb into nasb. Got it? And in terms of meaning, it changes the meaning from a verbal meaning to the meaning of a verbal noun. Okay, now that sounds complicated and it might sound complicated. In another way of saying it is that it gives it the meaning of the masdar. Right? You guys remember what a masdar is? I told you what a masdar is when we were dealing with our dictionary work. But even if Even if that's still vague in your mind, don't worry. Don't worry. Simply just know that the an translates as tu. If you put the tu before it, you will translate it correctly. If you translate the an as tu, you will understand it correctly. You might not understand all the workings behind it and the technicalities behind it for now, but that's okay. You will still understand it correctly. So what it means is, and I translate it like that: وَأَنَّ الصَّنَمَ الْأَكْبَرَ, and that the biggest idol, لَا يَقْدِرُ أَن يَكْسِرَ, was not able to break al-asnama, the idols. Is that fine?
Yes,
So,
Shukran.
Afwan.
Maulana, so in other words, your verbal noun is like jump, to jump.
Or jump,
Jump
like
is a
to
verb.
jump, yes. To jump or jumping.
Okay. Shukriya.
Afwan. Right. Last sentence on this page. فَقَالُوا لِإِبْرَاهِيمَ, so they said to Ibrahim, أَنْتَ تَعْرِفُ أَنَّ الْأَصْنَامَ لَا تَنْطِقُ. أَنْتَ تَعْرِفُ, you know. It's literally you, and then تعرف means عرف يعرف. If I go down the scale, يعرف يعرفون, تعرف يعرفن, تعرف, and that's where we are here. You know. When I put the أنت before it, it's just to emphasize that the focus is on you. أنت تعرف, you know. أن الأصنام, that the idols لا تنطق, they do not speak. Just to remind you, al-asnam is a plural. It's a jam' mukassar, broken plural. That's why we treat it as a singular feminine, and we use the verb لا تنطق. The verb is نطق ينطق, ينطق ينطقون, and then we have تنطق, the standard feminine form. Now the standard feminine form can mean she, or it can mean they, referring to inanimate plural. Hope that's clear. So they said to Ibrahim, you know that the idols cannot speak. Okay, if there's no questions, then what we'll do is we'll break away into our breakout groups, inshallah. What I want you to do is just look at these last 4 sentences from chapter number 5, page number 11, basically, right? So we'll go into those groups for about 10 minutes or so, inshallah. So, Sister Zeen, if you can put us into the groups, just remember what you're doing in the groups. Each one is trying to at least read one of the sentences and then attempt to translate it, and then you can question each other about your translations. Right? Why are you translating it like that, etc., and help each other to build good translations. Keep your questions. We'll answer them in the main group, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Am I audible and visible?
Visible and visible, Maulana.
All right, alhamdulillah. Okay, we were busy. Okay, sorry, just before we continue, any questions on what was done in the groups?
Maulana, our group had a question on one of the words, please.
Okay, bismillah.
The word tadurru on lines 14.
Okay, that is a verb, right? And it's a present tense verb. The root letters are tad, ra, ra. Where's my pen now? You see that? Right? But instead of saying darara, yadararu, darara, darara, yadururu, we just say, I'm going to write the present tense here at the bottom. Darara yadururu. Instead of saying darara yadururu, we just say darara becomes darra, and yadururu becomes yadurru. So here we have tadurru. How do we get there? We say yadurru, yadurruna, tadurru, yadururna. Okay, now that is a verb form. We haven't done the scales of that type of verb form. That's what we call a double letter verb. A double letter verb. What does that mean? Two of the root letters are exactly the same. Like here we have dad and then two ras. Does that answer your question?
Perfect. Jazakallah khair.
And what it means is it means to harm.
Cool. Jazakallah khair.
Maulana, just a question on that. We also had that in our group. So would it be the harf where the shadda is on? Would that be the letter that needs to be duplicated
Exactly.
in order to find the extra root letter?
Exactly. What a shadda shows you. What that means in Arabic, that means that there's a repetition of that letter.
And Mulana, if you're searching it for it in the dictionary, how would you use the three root letters or two ras? Just
You're gonna look for just dad and then a ra.
Oh, okay.
And then it will spell out the word for you. Darra yadurru. Or darra, and then it will have a u next to it.
Okay. Shukran, Maulana.
Okay, fine. Okay,
Maulana,
if you have any-
one more on wa innaha. The ha, do you translate it as it? Because I just wanted to know, because like al asnama is plural, so how would you translate the ha in that? Wa
Good
innaha?
question. The ha is referring to the idols, right?
Correct.
Right. So in English, we're going to translate it as them.
Yes.
So how do you worship the idols whilst they do not harm and they do not benefit?
Yes.
Right. So though it's a she, right? Because we know the rule, when we have a plural of an inanimate object, then we treat it as a singular feminine. So though it's literally a she, we're going to translate it as a them, because English
Okay.
doesn't have, what we're doing is that's a rule in Arabic, but it's not a rule in English.
Okay.
So
Cool.
like we have to convert into correct English.
Okay. Shukran, Maulana.
All right, perfect. No fun. Okay, if there's any more questions, then we can deal with that next week, inshallah. What I wanted to say is, your question, don't feel inhibited from asking questions. Your question doesn't have to sound advanced or sound like something that even if it's something that you think I'm supposed to know this, it doesn't matter. Just feel comfortable and free to ask your questions. you'll actually find that maybe many people will benefit from that question that you might have been shy to ask. So for future, if you have any questions, don't feel inhibited. Don't feel that it needs to sound like an intelligent question. Whatever questions you have, we're here to help each other. Bismillah ta'ala. Right? What I'm going to do now is, for homework, I want you to work on chapter number 6. There's 8 lines on that page. You can just do the first. You can do the first 4 for homework, inshallah. All right, the first 4 lines of chapter number 6, inshallah. Read them, put the meanings to them and try and form a good English translation of them. What I also want you to do is I want you to read from chapter 1 till chapter 5. Right? I want you to read that. Build up the ability to read it fluently and also understand while you're reading, inshallah. That's that's one of our important objectives in doing this reader. So for homework, read from chapter 1 till chapter 5 and just do the first 4 lines of chapter number 6 on page number 12. Okay, that's it. Let's move to our Quran section, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. We were busy with Surah Al-Teen. Oh, sorry, Surah Al-Teen.